Hey everyone, I want to take some time today to talk about some of the LEGO assets that I've built for the Gloomhaven board game. I've been playing Gloomhaven for the last few months now. As I've been playing, I've been slowly building up my LEGO built assets. One of the first things I built was a tray to handle my character cards and attack modifier cards. This is what the tray looks like right now. I might modify this in the future, but this is the way it is at the moment. On this side of the tray with the black outline is where I have my discard pile. On this side with the red outline is where my lost pile goes. I did this because I found when I played the game, I was often confusing my lost pile and my discard pile. So this helps me separate visually discard and lost. Here in the middle, which is currently blank at the moment, is where I put the character stat card. As an example, here's the Spellweaver. It just fits in here nicely. Now the stat card is good for reference because it tells you what the health is. It gives you a basic outline of what actions you should be taking on each turn. So I like to have the stat card in front of me. It also gives a location to put some of your conditions like poison. At the top of the tray, I've got my health tracker here. I didn't like the actual health trackers that came with the game. They were too bulky, and I found the wheels just would move on their own if you nudged them, so you kind of lose track of what your health was. So I'm representing the health with Lego pieces, one red brick for each point of health, and I've put a black brick here to indicate that this is the maximum health I can have for this character at this level. At the bottom, I have a location for my experience point tracker, which I'm using just blue Lego studs, one for each experience point. And at the top is where I can put my attack modifier cards, my active pile and my discard pile. I've got them just set high enough that the cards almost make it up to the top. And then when I draw a card, I can draw, flip it over, put it in the discard pile. This keeps everything nicely contained in here so that it can't come out. And I've also put some access holes on the side here so I can easily grab the cards and lift them out. Similarly, the character cards will fit in the discard pile and the lost pile. So I like this because now everything's contained within this one tray in a nice compact setup. I even have a space up top here. If I have an action card that has a persistent effect, I can just put it up here. This is something I might modify in the future. I might build my tray out to allow me to put my active cards in its own spot. But for now, this setup works fine for me at the moment. One additional thing I might build into the character tray, which I don't have at the moment, is a place to put my inventory items. Right now, I'm just sitting them in this middle tray here. So they're just loosely. And this works because you don't use your inventory items that often. And then when I do use them, I've been taking them out and I just put them in front. But I think it would be actually kind of nice to have a custom spot for the inventory items. So eventually I might build out the tray on the front so I could put some of these cards like this or some way that they could be more visible. Sometimes what I've been doing is just putting the cards like up in this range up here to show that it's an active card. And then when they're discarded, I've just been putting them right outside of my gameplay area because once they're used and you can't use them anymore, there's no point for it to be on your board. I've been playing the game by myself, and to do so I need to play a minimum of 2 characters. So this setup allows me to take 2 trays and I can link them together. And I can stick a Lego brick in here to attach the 2 together. So now I've got trays for my 2 characters side by side in a nice compact area. And they're attached so I can easily move this around if I want to move my game layout a little bit. So currently I'm really happy with the trays that I built. Maybe the colors not so much. I was just using whatever Lego parts I had available. I might order some custom parts for these to make them a little bit more uniform and kind of clean up some of the bricks I used. I was running out of bricks and used a lot of 1x1s here for the smooth tiles. But all in all, this works really well for me. Now, in addition to the character tray, I built some trays for handling the monster ability cards, and I'll show you what I've currently been using and a recent modification that I just made. Here's a typical monster stat sheet, just a card in a sleeve. On the stat sheet, you can put health tokens and status tokens around the side to monitor health and other conditions. And what I found was they slide off too easily. This gets moved around too easily. And for the actual ability cards, I was using this very rudimentary tray. So instead of having my cards sitting on the table and they kind of float around a little bit, you touch them, they move, they fall over, especially with the card sleeves on them, they get really slippery really quickly. So I didn't like how this was sitting on my table. So initially I built this tray So I can put the ability cards kind of standing up so I could see them. And then as I draw them, flip it over, I put it in this other location. So now I can see, here's my current deck of cards, here's the active card, and then when I played the card and it was done for the round, I would put it here to be in sort of like a discard pile. So this whole system here is loose. So I've recently decided to change this to be more like the tray that I built for the character stat cards. So instead of this, I've upgraded to this. Now, still Lego construction, similar to the character tray. This has a big empty spot here, and this can be where the monster stat sheet goes. Now at the moment it sits a little bit loosely in here. I might build up the sides here with some additional studs to make this a little bit more restrained. But at the moment, having it loose allows me to actually get my hand in here to pull the card out. Otherwise I'd have to dump it over. But it's contained enough that if I put my status tokens on here, they won't slide off the edge, which is great. But the main part is over here. I have now 3 areas for my monster ability cards. The deck goes in the back, the drawn cards go in the middle tray, and then the discards go in the front here. And I find building it up this way, the cards sit pretty much the same as it did in the old tray. When I draw a card and put it here, I've got this low enough that I can see everything on the card, and it sits at a nice angle that when I'm looking at it from a distance, I can still see everything. And then when the card is discarded, it nicely fits in this tray, and again I have an access point on the side here so I can easily grab the cards. So I haven't actually used this yet in a gameplay session. This will probably show up in Gloomhaven episode number 11. I'll show you a couple pictures of my setup. The setup I had before from a previous episode, and the setup I'll be using next using these new trays. This is everything I have so far for holding the ability cards for both the monster and the character. This is in addition to the actual Lego built scenarios, the dungeons themselves, which is the main attraction of the videos. This is more of a utility function to help me organize my cards. It also really helps me organize my layout space on my table while I'm playing. This could be modified to work for pretty much any game because you can customize your layout arrangement. I got a little lucky with Gloomhaven in that the card's dimensions are exactly 9 studs wide. Not ideal, would be great if it was 10 or 8 so that I could use even bricks, but it still works actually quite nicely. Well, what do you think of my layout? I'm continuing to think of new things to do to help with card organization or token organization, so there might be more custom Lego builds for the Gloomhaven board game in the future. For now, I'm really happy with what I have. It really enhances and streamlines my gameplay. Thanks so much for watching this mini review of my Lego built assets for Gloomhaven the board game. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. Thanks so much for watching.